Good morning, Norcal Karters. This is Jason, and it's Tuesday morning, March 30th. And what a past couple of weeks at Sonoma. That track was busy. Both weekends featured a lot of entries for both the Rock Sonoma Series and the Challenge of America's finale. A lot of great racing. Over the past 2 weeks, we saw multiple photo finishes, and we're not talking about the photo finishes where the other guys, a cart length behind or half a cart. We're talking about nose to nose across the line, and depending on where you were standing on the fence, determine who you thought visually won. It was just a really, really good racing. And come to think of it, a couple of those photo finishes came in the 100cc junior class. The weekend before was Christian Cameron and Preston Lambert. And then last weekend it was Steven Eisert. And you know what? I don't know who was the other cart. I apologize for that. But I know it was Steven Eisert, local Galt boy. So, again, it was a photo finish, and it just really, those are always fun. It's and then when we watched Hunter Pickett, he started 13th or 14th in the main event and drove on to the win. So that was exciting to watch. Although in later review, he was penalized for apparently passing under a yellow flag. So they actually docked him 4 spots. So something I probably need to look into if I'm going to continue to work that series, the rules and how those penalties lay out. But yeah, that was a hell of a drive by Hunter Pickett. I mean, he just put on a clinic and just cleanly raced through the field. But again, the passing under the yellow infraction took him off the podium, so it was pretty harsh. But nonetheless, it was great action on the track, and yeah, that was last weekend. So, Challenge of the Americas, they wrapped up their series, and I'll reach out to Andy so I can get him back on the show. I love having Andy on. He could probably have his own show if he had the desire to do it. He carries the show when he comes on. He has so much history and experience in karting, and there's a lot of little segues him and I get stuck into. There's been a few times he's very good at tying in the Norcal Karters theme to my interviews with him, and he's always plugging local club tracks and stuff like that. So again, I'll try to get him on the next week or two, and we can go over his series sponsors and the kids that won, or the drivers that won. I shouldn't say kids, because many of them are adults. So the drivers that won, the drivers that earned awards. I know some are going to Italy, some are going to Vegas. That was some of the awards, so that's pretty cool. So again, we'll have Andy on to highlight that. And once again, GFC Karting. He was out at Sonoma for the past 2 weeks, and I was actually under his tent. And what an environment he creates. It just, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hard work. Sometimes there's late nights. His setup, takes a day to take up, a day to tear down. But once all that stuff is done, it's a great environment, and I think Gary should probably be happy with how all of his drivers did. Many of them walking away with hardware. So that was good. Yeah, and we're already in April, believe it or not. I mean, March 30th is today. So that means April Fool's Day is Thursday. And then we have Easter Sunday. And unless I'm missing a club, I don't have anything on the calendar for Easter Sunday. So if you're listening to this and you just said, but we have an event on Easter Sunday or on April 3rd, reach out to me. It means I've not seen that schedule. You can direct message me on Facebook. I'm on the Norcal Karters page. You can call my cell phone. You can go to norcalkarters.com. There's plenty of ways to reach me. And again, get a hold of me so we can put your events on the calendar. And If your events are on the calendar but you want more exposure, we have advertising packages. So Rock Sonoma, Challenge of the Americas, Gary Carlton Racing, Prairie City, Northern Nevada Kart Club, let's see, CCKRA, which is Central California Kart Racing Association. These are just a handful of the tracks that have sponsored the podcast over the year, or the calendar, I should say. They've actually sponsored the calendar. So I do give them more attention. But I do try to highlight everybody and say, hey, there's an event coming up. In fact, let's roll into it. April 10th and the 11th, KPX is going to kick off their 2021 season. And that same weekend, the NCK Road Racers, they are heading to Las Vegas for the SpeedVegas event. Again, that's April 10th and the 11th. And a perfect example of what I was talking about on advertiser versus non-advertiser. I have KPX on the calendar. They're not an advertiser this year. I have it listed, so it shows the date they're listed on. However, not Northern Nevada, they're a sponsor as well. But NCK Road Racing, they are a sponsor. So if you click on their event, it will tell you April 10th and the 11th. Their event is at SpeedVegas. The very first thing under the description is a link directly to the NCK webpage. And on their case, I have linked it directly to their series schedule. Right under that, I have their full schedule that's been confirmed, sitting in the description. And under that, I have links to the NCK classes. And then under that, there's a description of what NCK is. So that's a perfect comparison, because if you go to norcalkarters.com, go to our calendar. If you're asking yourself why KPX doesn't have information, but NCK does, that's the only reason. It's NCK as a sponsor. So I need to find ways to give value to the sponsors that are helping support the Norcal Karters project. So that being said, April 10th and the 11th, KPX season opener. April 10th and the 11th, NCK Road Racers are heading to SpeedVegas, their website, nckroodracing.com. Again, nckroodracing.com. And that same weekend, the Shasta Kart Club has an event coming up. And actually later tonight, I will have Mark Morrison, the president of NCK. He's going to be on the podcast tonight going over information for SpeedVegas, maybe some upcoming news, some updates of things you should know about the event. Last week we had Larry Stevens on, so if you want to go back in the podcast a couple episodes, Larry Stevens was on, and he's an avid road racer running in the tag class, and that was a great interview. So if you're inclined to go to Vegas for an event and you've never done a road race, by many accounts it seems like SpeedVegas is a perfect icebreaker, because the track is 1.5 miles long, so it's a little bit shorter than your typical full-size racetrack. It's very smooth. It's very open. It's a great way to kind of get acclimated to the speed of road racing, and then also just the process. The NCK guys, they do everything a lot differently, not in a bad way. I've just been around certain sprint series for a number of years, and it's just go, 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 go. I mean, it's just a constant. You're always looking at the clock. You're looking at the schedule. When am I up next? At many of those series, if you don't have a mechanic, you're probably going to miss sessions. The NCK stuff is a lot more geared towards the guy in a cart. You know, if you just show up and it's yourself, most of the guys out there, they kind of just do it by themselves. Not many of the guys have hired help or teams. It's kind of the, I don't want to say one-man show, because NCK has a great community off the track. So it's not like you're in it alone, because a lot of these racers that race together, they all pit together, but it's not your typical tent team. It's just a bunch of privateers pitting together. They're helping each other out. They're helping each other with engine tuning. They're helping each other with tire pressures and gearing. It's actually a very open group of guys. And that was probably the most surprising thing to me, where, competitors were all working together. So it's a really neat environment out there at the NCK stuff. So again, April 10th and the 11th, NCK Road Racing, SpeedVegas. And then after that, we have CCKRA, which is Central California Kart Racing Association. Their website is cckra.com. They have round 2 at Buttonwillow. And that's going to be a busy weekend. So April 10th and the 11th, I just mentioned it, that's going to be busy. April 17th and 18th is also going to be busy because we have CCKRA that I just mentioned. GFC Karting. That is Gary Carlton, NorCal's own shifter specialist. I don't know where I'm going with that, but he does the tags, the minis. He had guys on the podium. In every class that he offers a chassis, he had guys on the podium at Sonoma last weekend, so that was pretty good. So, mini, micro, tag, shifter. But what I meant to say is Gary Carlton's the, alumni from Norcal Karters. He grew up in Northern California, raced in Northern California, raced all the local tracks in California. We had him on last year. We did a little mini series. His career eventually took him over to Europe for many years. And then he decided he wanted to come back home and start a team. And in the past 2 years, he's had a huge amount of success. So, Gary Carlton, gfckarting.com. And he will be at Rock Sonoma for race number 2. So, Sonoma Rock Cup, race number 2. Sonoma is also a sponsor. Their website is Sanzaru Karting. SANZARU karting with a K.com. SanzaruKarting.com. So that's the weekend of April 17th and 18th. And Northern Nevada Kart Club, NNKCReno.com. Northern Nevada Kart Club, NNKCReno.com. They have race number 1 kicking off on April 18th. And Northern Nevada, their kart club has been a sponsor now for 2 years. We appreciate your support. Thanks for coming back. Glad you see the value in it. And again, they're kicking off race number 1. And my buddy Henry Damus, it looks like he's dragging his limited 125 shifters of NorCal to Northern Nevada Kart Club for their first race. So basically what Henry is doing is the same thing the NorCal 80cc shifter guys are doing. It's at this point it's kind of a mixed bag of 125s. So he wanted to put together a group that really didn't fit in with some of the other series where it's so stringent on rules or engine platforms. And if you have a Honda, if you have a Rock, if you have an ICC, it doesn't matter. If it's 125 cc's, Henry would love for you to join his group. And if you go to norcalkarters.com and click on the limited 125 calendar link, there's a link directly to Henry's Facebook page under NorCal Shifters. So, again, he's organizing just a group of guys. He's not organizing the races. He's just piggybacking off of the clubs. He has a couple of fun days planned. But it's just a way to bring, the 125 shifters to local tracks. That's really what it is. So good job to Henry on that. Good job to the 80 guys that have been doing the same thing. So April 17th and 18th, CCKRA, round 2, Buttonwillow. GFC Karting will be at Sonoma for the Sonoma Rok Cup, race number 2. And the limited 125 guys will be heading to Reno for the Northern Nevada Kart Club, race number 1. And I don't think I mentioned Prairie City. If I didn't, I'm going to right now. Their 4-stroke weekend, race 3, is taking place on that weekend as well. So April 17th and 18th. So there's a lot going on that weekend. And then just double check with Donald or the crew over at Prairie City Karting. They were talking about moving the 80 shifters off of 4-stroke weekend to the 2-stroke weekend. So just confirm with Prairie City out there and double check your schedules for that. So, but the 4-stroke weekend is April 17th and 18th at Prairie City. And I've mentioned this in the past. The reason Donald has broken up the 4-stroke and 2-stroke weekend is in order to operate events on state property. He's under very strict occupancy. I guess that's the right word. Occupancy rules. So he has a number he can't go over. So in order to achieve that, he's had to break up the classes, and it kind of worked out well with the 4-stroke versus the 2-stroke stuff. The only kind of hitch was the 80 shifters. Yes, an 80 shifter is a 2-stroke, but in order to get the numbers where he thought were going to work, he had to split the shifter guys up. But again, confirm with Donald, he may be moving the 80 shifter group off 4-stroke weekend to the 2-stroke weekend. So if you click on the calendar and you see that, just know that was one of the discussions that came up. So again, April 17th and 18th, very busy for a lot of the tracks and a lot of the series. And then we have April 24th, Bakersfield Kart Club. So that's April 24th, Bakersfield Kart Club. And that brings us already to May. And again, if I'm missing your events, I probably just don't know about them because I'm pretty sure all the events that I've seen, I have them on the calendar at this point, norcalkarters.com. But if I'm missing one of your events, reach out to me. So everyone gets free listings. The ones that get added promotion, they're paying for that. So just keep that in mind. April 24th, Bakersfield Kart Club. And that takes us to May. May 1st and 2nd. So May 1st and 2nd, Shasta Kart Club. May 2nd, which is Sunday, is Blue Max Kart Club. And it looks like the limited 125 guys are going to be going back to Reno. Let's see. Yep, back to Reno. Limited 125, Reno. That means Northern Nevada Kart Club. They have race number 2 on May 2nd. So Northern Nevada Kart Club, nnkcreno.com. They're going to Nevada. And the NorCal 80cc Shifter Championship. They are heading to Blue Max for their event. So that's going to be their second event. So they will be at Blue Max. So 125s, Northern Nevada Kart Club. 80cc's at Blue Max Kart Club out in Davis. So that is your calendar and your events for the next 5 to 6 weeks. Let's see here. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. And again, if you go to norcalkarters.com, you click on the calendar. If I'm missing one of your events, please reach out to me so we can get those on the calendar. The idea for Norcal Karters is to have a place where you can go to see all the events that are going on. That's really what the calendar is designed for. And as I mentioned before, later today we'll have Mark Morrison on, and he's going to go over the NCK stuff and highlighting SpeedVegas. And today, I think that's going to be a wrap. Thank you for listening. If you appreciate the content, please click on the Spreaker link, subscribe to our podcast so you're notified when the shows are occurring. Share the link, share with your racing friends. If you're thinking about getting into karting, go to norcalkarters.com, click on the calendar. We have many clubs that are listed on the calendar, and just find one that's close to you. And we're slowly expanding our reach as well. So right now it's focused on Northern California and surrounding areas. So we have the Shasta Kart Club, we have Reno, we have a lot of the Central Valley clubs on the calendar. So if you're hearing this and you're in the Northern California area, I guarantee you there's a track probably within an hour of you that you just didn't know about. And we specialize more in the sprint racing. I don't do the oval. I don't do the dirt. I just never broke into that, never explored it. I don't have any knowledge on it. So keep in mind, if you're listening to this, this is primarily sprint tracks, which means small Grand Prix tracks, paved Grand Prix style tracks. So yeah, there you have it. It's Norcal Karters, norcalkarters.com. Go click on the calendar. And thank you all for the support. I was looking at the statistics this morning. We're getting more and more downloads. Every episode, they just keep growing. And the likes aren't really there, but I don't really care about likes. I care about downloads, and I care about listens. So we appreciate it. And as always, you can chat live with me. I'm working on ways to maybe do call-in features during the podcast that are clean. I haven't found a way yet as far as that is economical. But you can chat live if you find something that comes up or you want to comment on something. Just go to the Spreaker site or app and you can chat live. So thank you everybody for listening. And have a great week, and join us later tonight as we have Mark Morrison on from NCK Road Racing.com.